So I have two palettes right here from Colored Raine, and these are a part of the Botanical collection. So we have the Rose Garden and the Botanical palette. So I thought these palettes were actually pretty neutral, but I was like, oh, they're really pretty, and I wanted to pick it up because Colored Raine really hasn't come out with a lot of palettes lately, and they were one of my top favorite brands just a few years ago. So it kind of made it sad that they haven't really been releasing a whole lot lately. So I decided I would go ahead and pick this up. I got 4 looks for you today. Everybody, welcome on back to my channel. This is Ashley. So like I just mentioned before, I have 2 of the palettes from the Colored Raine's latest release, and let me go ahead and introduce myself before I get carried away. If you're new to this channel, welcome, and if you're older but goodie, welcome on back. My name is Ashley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy. I love makeup, so that's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup. But eyeshadow truly is my jam, but please just call me Ash or Ashley. So like I just mentioned before, Colored Raine released, I'm about to drop stuff. Colored Raine, let me get it together. Colored Raine actually released these 2 palettes on December 20th, and they were really neutral, and I was like, you know what, but they're really beautiful, and the collection looks really well done. So you have a Botanical palette that looks like this, a nice 6-pan palette, and then you have the Rose Garden palette. And this collection also did come with some cream blushes and some lipsticks, but I opted just to grab the palettes. And one thing that was really cool about this collection was in collaboration with Doodles by Bunny. I think she did the artwork, and that's how this collection just kind of came to be. So it's she definitely worked with them on the artwork, and I think she has some designs of this on her Instagram page. And you know, if you don't follow Doodles by Bunny, she basically draws these very elaborate designs using basically mainstream eyeshadow palettes. Like it's a lot of Urban Decay, a lot of Anastasia Beverly Hills, and she gives them a theme, and she puts in the colors that she will want that palette to have, and the inspirations are just like off the chart. She does a really good job drawing out those palettes. So like I just mentioned before, the palette's released on December 20th, so I decided to pick it up. I picked it up on their website. I know they are carried in Target, but I don't believe these are in Target. These palettes retail for $16 a piece, but I was able to get it in a bundle for $12 a piece, so that was good. So it's like $25 and some change, so I was happy with that, and the shipping cost wasn't very much. Now, the last release that, well, maybe not the last release because they do have a neutral palette out that just came out a couple of months ago, but the last main release that I remember from Colored Raine was the Juicy Boost palette, and I'll try to see if I can find a picture and just pop it in right there because I actually decluttered that palette recently. And that palette, it was, I don't know, they changed the formula and they went vegan, and the formula just didn't translate, unfortunately, and that palette was maybe about 20 shades or so, with only 3 of them being shimmer. So as you can see, that's an issue if majority of your palette is not functioning correctly. So I wanted to see if this formula was like how I remember Colored Raine to be. So that's what we will figure out in this video, and I'm going to be creating 2 looks with the Botanical palette and 2 looks with the Rose Garden palette. So each one of these palettes actually has like a little unicarton. Well, the sleeve is the unicarton type of deal, and on the back you do have the ingredients of each of the palette, and it says, of course, it's for external use only. Discontinue if you see any sign of eye irritation, and it's going to be distributed by Colored Raine Cosmetics. They're out of San Clemente, California. I don't know why I thought they were on the East Coast, but I guess not. And the net weight of the palette is 9 grams, and that is actually for both palettes, or 0.32 ounces. This palette, both of the palettes actually are made in the PRC, and let's see, they are vegan, cruelty-free, and gluten-free and paraben-free, and the packaging is recyclable. Both of the palettes have a shelf life for 12 months once open. You know, you keep your makeup in a cool, dry area, it'll be okay. You know what I mean? And one thing else that I wanted to say is, because even though they're made in the PRC, you can still be cruelty-free as long as you're not selling in the PRC. The PRC is the People's Republic of China. I do want to also point out that in the Rose palette, there is one pressed pigment, and it's called Chocolate Rose. So, you know, there are warnings about that it is not intended for the eye area. And that's basically a regulation that they have in the United States based off of the FDA. And this is the shade Chocolate Rose. They put that in case of staining, but, you know, you can use that shadow, but you do have to be aware, or if you have any irritations to that, you might want to be here. In the Botanical palette, there are no warnings against any pressed pigments. So let's go ahead, let's get started. Like I said, I have 4 looks for you today. I'm doing 2 with each palette, and of course we're going to wrap up with some final thoughts on the other side. Let's go ahead and jump in. My eyebrows are filled in using my Goof Proof pencil, shade 3.75. For the primer, I took my Glam Shot primer, and this is the shade Honey Cake. And it's been working out really well. Really enjoying this thus far. And I'm going to start off with the Rose Garden palette. The Rose Garden palette looks like, losing my voice. The Rose Garden palette looks like this. So I'm going to do one look on this side and one look on this side. And then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts on this palette, and then I'll jump into the next one, Botanical. All right, here are the first 2 looks using the Rose Garden palette. Yes. So just disregard. I messed up my liner right here. I actually use, what is this, the Velour Lash and Go to apply my lashes. I have a video about this on my channel. I'll try to link it down below. And it's perfect. This is actually like my second tube of it. And yeah, just right now I botched it. But usually we're okay. But let's see. Let's go into the Rose Garden palette. So the mattes, yes, the mattes, so good. what I would expect from the Colored Raine formula. So good. So as of right now, I liked everything except for the shade Gold Rose, which is the one in the middle. It is very chunky. I have it there in the inner corner. It was a lot. I tried to use my Rougher 21 brush. I had to wet it. I had tons of fallout, and it just did not apply well. Not to mention, like, we don't need both of these in a 6-pan. So listen to me. I wish they would have like did a pink. Because you know, I always talk about like all those pinks that Mama Pat always does. But I'm like, I wish we would have just had like a rose gold, you know, for roses. And I think that would have really, really complimented this. I'm not sure like if everything was strictly off of Doodles by Bunny with this palette. Seems half and half, maybe, maybe not. But I'm sure, you know, the brand still has some creative control. But I just wish this shade wasn't there. It's just not to me, it's just not a good shade. But this shade is really beautiful. This is actually my favorite eye. This is just, it's giving me everything. I mean, of course, I went in with this shade first. So as far as the transition, it is deeper. But if you wanted a lighter transition right here, you can go and transition first with Chestnut Rose, which is really beautiful. It shows up really nice and it's buildable. None of these shades are patchy. So I'm like, okay, thank you, Color Raine. That's what I remember. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into the Botanical palette right here. I'm going to do the same thing. Look here and a look here. Come back, wrap up. This one, we still have our pop of green, but we got purple, one gold, couple purples. So let's get started. So these are the looks featuring the Botanical palette, and I believe the Botanical palette is actually my favorite palette. Now the shimmers in here, I think they're a lot stronger versus the ones that are in the Rose Garden. Well, it's only just one in the Rose Garden, that gold. This gold is pretty too, but it was really hard to pick up with a brush. I think all of them really had to wet them for it to show up. I did want to kind of go in with my finger with hydrangea. And out of the two green shadows, or the teal shadows, hydrangea is my favorite. I think because Marley is more green. And I wanted to just see if we could just, build it up some more. Yeah, you definitely can. Okay, but yeah, so the finger is definitely one of the best application methods for these particular shadows. They just seemed a little hard pressed to me, and that goes for both of the palettes. I wish Colored Raine has like very creamy metallics. Like when I think about Safari Rain, when I think about Queen of Hearts, like those metallics just blend like butter. Even the like there's regular metallics from the single shadows. So these are just a little hard pressed for my liking. They are really beautiful. I feel like this particular palette, the Botanical palette, is actually a little bit laid out a little bit better. You still have the pop of green, but you have you don't have two golds, so you just got the one gold. You got something in there for people who are maybe a lighter skin complexion. They can help blend out, maybe start with transition, or just kind of what am I trying to say, just maybe try to lessen the impact of the other shades. But the mattes are just beautiful. Like, I'm glad they have figured that out, because Colored Raine was always known for their mattes. They were known for their shimmers and their mattes, but I think a lot of people love them for their mattes, and it was just so disappointing in the Juicy Boost palette, where those particular mattes, and considering the whole palette was matte except for 3 shades, that it just didn't perform very well. But otherwise, I think that these mattes are really gorgeous. They were really easy to blend, really easy to layer on top of each other. You could build them up, and I feel it really just has nice hues. So these 2 shades right here complement each other so well, as you can see in the crease. And I feel like this rose gold shade is really pretty too, because it's more of a purple in nature. So this one is definitely my favorite palette. The Rose Garden one is really pretty as well. And but I would just say the problem for me, like I said before, is just the gold rose shade in the middle. That one is really crumbly. It doesn't pick up well and had lots of fallout. But the mattes in here are beautiful as well. So overall, I feel like these 2 palettes are pretty solid. Do you need to have both? Maybe not. Maybe not. Because you're going to get kind of similar looks. I just thought that they were really both beautiful, and I wanted to have them both. And you do get somewhat of a different vibe from this one versus this one. But if I had to pick one that was my favorite across the board, just total performance, I would definitely say the Botanical one. I'm excited to see what else Colored Raine comes out with in the future. They were like one of my top 3 favorite brands for a very long time. So it was just kind of disappointing to see them kind of, you know, take a step back from putting out products. And they never used to overdo it with the eyeshadow palettes or any of their releases. So it's kind of like they just went missing. Like the last strong release they had was, oh my God, like that Power palette. That Power palette, when you think about the mattes and those shimmers, are really, really amazing. So I just hope that they stop pressing the shimmers so hard. But other than that, I would think that this is a solid release. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in the future. So let me know down below what you think of the looks. My favorite looks would be, this would be my favorite one now, and then the second look that I did with the Rose palette, and then I do like this one also, so that would be my third, and then the first one would be my first. But let me know down below in the comments, did you pick these up? I think the price point is really great, and I think that's also going to help Colored Raine out, because their prices used to be pretty high. So let me know once again. Give this video a big old thumbs up. Hit the notification bell so you know when I come out with another video, which will be very soon. Subscribe to my channel because you know I would love to have you here in my little makeup family. And with all of that being said, you already know what time it is. It's time for the chat shady. Hey, 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 chatty. 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 Hey. All right, y'all. Bye.